Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics. Our program spotlights people in our community who are involved in activities intended to promote good human relations. I am Michael Keller, the chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission and your host. The commission is a city board that seeks to promote equal opportunity and to eliminate discrimination. My guests today are Mauro, the Executive Director of the Volunteer Center for Anne Arundel County, and Sarah Litz, who is the coordinator of the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse of the center. Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
The Volunteer Center serves as, to coin a phrase, a matchmaker between prospective volunteers and organizations.
That's correct, Mike.
Tell us how it works.
We've been here since 2001, so we're celebrating our 10th anniversary. And we connect people who want to volunteer with the groups that need volunteers throughout the city of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. And in any one year, we may connect 4,000 plus or minus individuals with more than 360 organizations who serve the needs of the people of Annapolis as well as the county.
Okay. Give our viewers a sense of the numbers that are involved in terms of, you've just mentioned the statistics about number of organizations. How many volunteers do you have that are involved, and how many hours do they represent in terms of service?
Well, every year we estimate that those 4,000 or so volunteers contribute more than 116,000 hours of service. So that is a huge impact. When you think of how they assist many agencies and organizations, faith-based or nonprofit or governmental groups that couldn't complete their missions without them. And that can represent $2.5 million in value added to our local economy every year.
That's very, very impressive. Could you share with us and give us a sense of the scope of your activities? With what kinds of volunteer work can people become involved?
Well, just about anything, Mike. It can be working on environmental issues, which of course are very important here in our county, but it can be working with the homeless. It can be working with helping people who are just struggling to survive day to day. And we're seeing many organizations, whether they're faith-based or nonprofit, who are seeing some of their clients used to be volunteers, and now they need benefits themselves, and it's a tough struggle out there. So the continuing need for volunteers, for more people to become involved, is growing, and the needs are indeed getting greater.
Let's take a look at some of the specific programs that you have at the center. Do you offer anything that would be especially targeted to, say, to youth or to seniors or to families?
Well, we do. We have...
Tell us about it.
Thanks. We have a number of organizations that need volunteers, and we refer youth to them. They could be serving some of their community service or their service learning hour commitments. And that might be working again in the environment that always needs a lot of youthful enthusiasm and energy. Or it could be working like an organization such as Happy Helpers for the Homeless, which is all volunteer, and they use many, many, many volunteers of all ages, from the very youngest to the very oldest. And every week they are putting meals together and taking them up in North County and also up into Baltimore to serve to people who need that extra hand of help. We also have volunteer opportunities for families. So, for instance, we just finished Martin Luther King Day of Service. Right. And we had more than 300 volunteers there that day at the Banneker Douglas Museum. And many, many children. It was wonderful to see them get involved, to make cards to send to deployed military overseas, or perhaps to the children of military members. And they were working on projects at the museum itself, doing things that were very creative and hands-on. And this is something that we try to do several times a year to engage families.
You have like a youth volunteer corps?
We do. Our youth volunteer corps is the way we utilize, again, the energy of youth to help develop and implement projects. They were very instrumental, for instance, in our 9/11 Day of Service, September 11th.
Well, tell us about that too.
Well, it was a great partnership because we're all about collaboration. And the agencies and groups involved included the Spot Creek Conservancy, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Friends of Anne Arundel County Trails. Jonas Green Park was very involved. That's where most of the activities occurred, at the foot of the Naval Academy Bridge. They were engaged in everything from building rain gardens to collecting debris and trash, weeding, mulching, whatever was necessary on that one day of service to try to protect our watershed and to do something positive to stop the damage done by the storm runoff in particular. So whether it's Naval Academy midshipmen coming and giving us a hand, again, families, environmentalists, people who just want to learn about the environment, then that kind of a day of service is really fun.
Is the Martin Luther King Day of Service, is that, what does that tend to mean? You gave a really good example of it earlier, but what does it tend to focus around?
Well, because we have, as we know, many wonderful opportunities to celebrate and acknowledge the people in our county who are receiving awards that day, this is another opportunity for people who have the day off, but it gives them a place to go to spend a few hours doing community service, building community, finding other people who feel the same way that they do, teaching their children how important it is to give back. So Martin Luther King Day is a really important day for us to kick off a new year.
How about Flex programs? You offer those as well?
We do, and this is something that we might be able to get Sarah to tell us more about, because this is also her charge. She is working on developing flexible volunteer projects that occur monthly. So Sarah, can you tell us more?
Sure. Flex projects are monthly reoccurring projects that we have with some of our partnered organizations, such as Books for International Goodwill, Sarah's House, Friends of Anne Arundel County Trails, where we have a group of volunteers that come in. They're usually a small group of volunteers, about 5 to 10 volunteers that are each led by a trained Flex leader. And we do all of the in-house training for the Flex leaders and the helping of putting together of those volunteers, really just to help out those partner organizations that have a project they've always wanted to do but haven't had the manpower. Just a great way to help out and get those volunteers involved, because it can be very hard as a volunteer when you want to volunteer for an organization and you have to wait a very long time and you don't have that time to wait.
And it's kind of an overlap, too, with our youth programming, because Sarah is specifically designing training for youth leaders. So teens can be leaders as well as being team members for volunteers. So it's a great way to challenge them and get their input and feedback.
You also offer disaster programs, too, right?
Yes, we work in connection with the Office of Emergency Management for both the City of Annapolis and the county, Anne Arundel County. And we train individuals to be there to help us when the time comes, because we know it's a matter of when and not if we will have a major disaster, whether it's man-made or weather-related. So we want to be able to direct volunteers where they're needed and keep them out of the way of the first responders. First responders have enough on their hands. They don't need people coming up and saying, I want to help. So we will help deploy volunteer mobilization centers. We're ready to do that as called upon, we don't just decide on our own. We wait for the Office of Emergency Management to tell us where this need is. And then we will help funnel the volunteers to the agencies and the nonprofits too that need the extra help, either in response or recovery.
Could you give some examples of when you've actually done this?
We have had like a volunteer center on steroids where we've had to be able to function at home or in the office and bring in additional people to staff it. But so far, knock on wood, we have not actually had to do more than drill.
Okay.
We are prepared to do this and to open a volunteer mobilization center physically in our office or elsewhere, either close to or far away from the event, depending on what the need is. But like I said, so far we have just had to do it by being prepared to do more of what we already do.
One other program that you have is the Volunteer Project Hall of Fame,
Oh, yes.
in which you recognize people who have been outstanding volunteers and in the community. Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Well, it's a little bit different because the Volunteer Center tries to recognize projects that have made a difference in our community. And of course, that's always led by one or two main volunteers, but it's the project themselves that we will hope that can be duplicated and people can see how a group of Girl Scouts can help build a boutique for Chrysalis House. That was that project was one of the winners. Or how the Eastport Methodist United Methodist Church, how their project working after school with children, both in tutoring and in some case mentoring those children, is growing and is vital to a healthy community. So whether it's this kind of a smaller project or perhaps it's a project that has happened with partnerships between, say, the Midshipman Action Group and the Boys and Girls Clubs, they have a number of things that they're doing together. So whatever is working in our community, we want to celebrate it, and that's what the Volunteer Project Hall of Fame is about.
What other, you gave a couple of very good examples of projects which were recognized and were honored. Could you give our viewers some other examples of areas in which, specific projects that were recognized?
Well, we were very happy this year to celebrate Operation Welcome Home, which is a project out at BWI Airport.
Okay.
And volunteers from all over the area are gathering to greet returning veterans and families. And this is an all-volunteer effort. And it is just a wonderful, joyful happening. So it's a great way to have a few hours mean a lot. We've also had a chance to recognize the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, which is part of the Department of Aging and Disabilities. In the past, we've recognized them for, well, most recently for their VIPS, Volunteers in Police Service project, where you have very dedicated volunteers serving throughout the county at various police departments. So they, again, are invaluable. We've also recognized Partners in Care, which is a county-wide organization whose volunteers provide rides where needed. They also are there to do handyman chores as needed. There are so many ways to serve others in our county. We're very, very fortunate here.
We're going to take a break now, but when we return, I'm going to be asking Sarah to talk about the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse.
Hi, I'm Annapolis Mayor Josh Cohen, and I want to tell you about a new free way for you to enjoy downtown Annapolis. Our unique shops, our dining, our entertainment, and our historic maritime charm.
Did you know that Annapolis has a new circulator trolley that will shuttle you free from one end of the central business district to the other? Well, after parking at Knighton or Park Place Garage for just $5 a day, you can get on the circulator by simply raising your hand anywhere along the route and see what downtown Annapolis has to offer. For more information, go to annapolis.gov and click on circulator.
We're talking today with Faye Mauro, who is the Executive Director of the Volunteer Center for Anne Arundel County, and with Sarah Litz, who is the coordinator of the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse, which is part of the center. Sarah, tell us about the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse. How did you get a name like that?
The Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse is a City of Annapolis Kids at Hope initiative to connect caring adults with mentoring and tutoring programs that help to service youth in the City of Annapolis. The title Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse actually comes from the Kids at Hope philosophy, where treasure hunters are adults in the lives of children that help them and see the goals and help them to succeed in life. They find the treasure in each child.
Well, tell us a little bit more about how the program works.
Sure.
You know, how do you get volunteers? How does this benefit folks?
Sure. The Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse started out as a way to recruit for those mentors and tutors, because it was found that the greatest need for disadvantaged youth living in Annapolis was mentors and tutors when youth were asked that question. So the Volunteer Center was picked as the most obvious place to come in and collect those mentors and tutors. We recruit in a variety of different ways. We're doing a really big campaign right now. We just had our kickoff event in January for the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse, and we're having TV shows such as this one and a couple of radio events as well. You can be seen on our website, which is new, which is volunteerannearundel.org, that we highlight the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse.
All right. And what do the mentors and tutors actually do? Tell us a little bit about their role.
Okay. Well, one thing that they do as part of the process in order to become a mentor tutor with the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse, it begins with filling out an application form.
Okay.
Once the application form is completed, volunteers then go through a phone orientation, just a brief get to know you, how do you feel about mentoring and tutoring. Then we have about an hour, just a 101 orientation about what's really expected of them, to let them know about a couple of our partnered organizations that they may be partnered with. And then we begin the background check process and the process of partnering them with another organization. It really depends on which organization that they get partnered with, but we do make a requirement that all mentors make a commitment of 1 month.
Okay.
1 month. 1 year.
Okay, 1 year. I was going to say that's short.
4 to 6 hours per month.
Okay.
Tutors are asked to make a commitment of 1 semester.
Okay.
To meet once a week with their partnered organization.
Okay. How many volunteers and mentors and tutors do you have in this program right now? Like, what kind of numbers? And what are their ages? You know, tell us a little bit about what these folks are like. Who are they?
Sure. The age requirements for tutors, we ask that you be at least a senior in high school.
Okay.
For mentors, you must be at least 18 years of age.
All right.
Like the Kids at Hope philosophy.
About the same.
Treasure hunter really could be anybody who wants to help a kid really succeed in life and feels that they can help with doing that. It can be anybody from someone who works at the postal office to somebody who's a school bus driver, just really anybody in a child's life. We have had pretty good interest from people willing to come in, and they know the requirements, but they still want to come in and become a mentor tutor with the Clearinghouse. We're looking at about 10 people for sure that have gone through the process and are now actually working on getting partnered with an organization. Our goal is to have 60 by summertime. So if you're interested, please check us out on our website or email me, sarah@volunteeranarundle.org.
Okay, can you repeat that for our viewers?
Sure, at Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, @volunteeranarundle.org.
Okay, and what is your website?
Our website is www.volunteeranarundle.org.
Very good. That information can be very, very useful to our viewers. Now, you talked about partner organizations. How many partner organizations are involved just generally? And give our viewers some examples. I mean, who are the partner organizations for the Treasure Hunters Clearinghouse?
Sure. Our partners just service those youth in the city of Annapolis. We have partners such as Eastport Girls Club, HACA, Boys and Girls Club of Annapolis. We also have a couple of in-school programs such as Avid Tutoring and Annapolis Middle School, and we're working on getting a couple more partners right now. I believe we're at 8 partners at the moment.
And something I just wanted to add, that this pilot program just kicked off in early January at City Hall, where we were very, very happy to have some constituents as well as leaders here in the community that were part of this kickoff event, and that included Speaker Bush and Mayor Cohen, of course, and also, as Sarah mentioned, a couple of the organizations were there to talk a little bit about how they use mentors and how the Clearinghouse has already started to help them. So Helena Hunter from Eastport Girls Club was there, and who else was there?
Martin Blake from Boys and Girls Club spoke as well, and Carlisa Finney came
From the Board of Education. We're getting a lot of support since this would involve both the school system, whether or not the program is in the school. That partnership, collaboration between the program and the schools is critical.
Well, you do a lot of things, a lot of good work. And how many staff do you have that supports all this work?
We have 2.75 full-time equivalents of staff, and you're looking at the 2.0 of it right here. And the 0.75 is split among 3 other people. And then we also have a number of office volunteers who we could not live without.
Well, you know, that's really impressive when you consider all of the various programs and activities that you have for volunteers, and to both get volunteers involved with sponsoring organizations and also to provide organizations with volunteer help, considering all of the programs. I'm sure our viewers are going to be very, very impressed by the kind of work that you're doing. Where does your funding come from? What's your funding source?
Everywhere. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we depend upon both individual contributions, fundraising events. We have one coming up on May 11th. More will follow on our website. Government grants, foundations, corporations. We piece together our funding in bits and pieces here and there. We have no single funder.
I know that you also involve a lot in terms of corporations, businesses, nonprofit organizations. Which ones have been the most active with you? You should feel free to mention them.
Wow. On the business side of things, I think Air Inc. has been the most consistent supporter. They helped get us going 10 years ago and continue to work with us, and their charitable action team is a big source of volunteers for us. The local civic organizations have been fantastic, whether it's Annapolis Rotary, Parole Rotary, all of the Rotaries throughout the county, as a matter of fact, but the Lions Club. Governmental agencies, you would not necessarily think of them when it comes to volunteering, but the Department of Social Services is a very, very big partner. They are the behind-the-scenes strength of our back-to-school program in the fall and the winter time holiday sharing events. They also work very closely and head up the Homeless Resource Day that happens now for the 5th year this spring. And these partnerships with both agencies like the DSS and nonprofits, House of Hope, many of the members of the faith-based community, GAIN, the Greater Annapolis Interfaith Network. These are all folks who know how to work together and play well together and really make a big difference because you have to collaborate.
Do you provide training and resources to the people who ultimately come forward and offer to be volunteers?
We do. We both do some formal training through a partnership we have with Anne Arundel Community College, and that happens through their nonprofit side, their non-credit side of the house. So people can check with Anne Arundel Community College, and we always have volunteer management classes coming up. We'll also do consulting, and we'll do hands-on, one group at a time. We work with both the individual volunteers and the agencies who want to increase their effective use of volunteers.
So it's my understanding that the center is working it's really launching a new online data base to facilitate volunteer engagement. Tell us about that.
Well, we're really, really happy because we tried it out for the first time in January with Martin Luther King Day. And people are coming to the website. We're getting marvelous feedback. They're going to volunteeranarundel.org and seeing how easy it is to sign up to volunteer. And I think it's going to make a huge step forward.
Definitely. People are especially enjoying our volunteer calendar. That's now up where you can go to pick a day or a month and see what all volunteer opportunities are available and sign up that way. So it's a lot easier and a little more user-friendly than the old site.
We're still populating it, though, with information. We're still working with our agencies to get all of their opportunities up there. So it's a continuing work in progress.
Okay. Looking down the road 5 years, what would be your vision for the Volunteer Center? Where would you like to be in 5 years? What kinds of changes, improvements, new programs? Put on your wish list cap. What would you like to see?
Well, I think the goal that is unreachable but to which we strive is to match everyone who wants to volunteer with the opportunity that they can appropriately use their skills and abilities. So 500 and some odd thousand people in the county, 36,000 people here in the city. I think we'll probably never reach that, but if we can help everyone know that they have a volunteer center so that they can use our resources and continue to grow, especially that web presence, since so many people now are used to and using the internet more and more and social media. I would hope to grow our ability to be there where the volunteers are and still not leave behind the people that want us to send them something through the mail and with a hard piece of paper. We want to continue to be able to do both.
What do you do to publicize the work of the Volunteer Center? I mean, I know about it, but I'm sure many of our viewers, if knowledge about public programs and the like are typical, probably say, "Gee, I didn't know this entity exists. What a great resource this is for the people of Anne Arundel County."
You're right there, Mike. A lot of people don't know about us yet, and we, with a non-existent...
Don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, with a non-existent budget for marketing, we really rely on both our web presence and the press releases that we send out every week. People might, if they're still reading the newspaper or looking at a blog, then they will find us out there because we give our information on a weekly basis to more than 30 different media outlets. So whether it's the blogosphere or the old-fashioned newspapers or radio, we have a radio program weekly that WNAV Radio hosts for us called Volunteer Voice. Sarah is doing some more outreach and doing radio programs. We are trying to do presentations. We like to get out and talk to youth groups, church groups, business organizations. And actually, word of mouth is truly the best way to find out about us. But that takes a little time, I'm afraid.
Where do you find the greatest source of volunteers coming from in terms of the county? What's your greatest source?
It's really interesting. The volunteers are spread out everywhere. From the data that they give us, they come about 20 to 30% here from the city of Annapolis, and then North County and West County and Central County are about giving us an even number. And South County is coming up. We've been getting more and more volunteers from South County. So it truly is a county-wide outreach effort, which makes it a challenge.
Thank you for viewing our program today, and please join us again on Annapolis Mosaics. If you would like to have more information about the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, please jot down the information that's on your screen. You can reach us at 410-263-7998 or by email at hrcommission@annapolis.gov. And do check out our page at the City of Annapolis website. Go to www.annapolis.gov, click on the Boards and Commissions icon at the home page, and then you can scroll down to the Human Relations Commission page. And always remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We have flown the air like birds and swum the seas like fishes, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth as brothers and sisters." Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much. Very, very informative. Very.